me see here. And I'm trying to, there we go. All right. So to start off with, we're going to start standing. And the way these primal circuits have gone is we do some stuff for about 15 minutes, and then we do like ends up being a 9-minute circuit. Lots of hip mobility, kind of like a refresh and a reset day. So just to start with, if you have a beam, you can use that, or if you have like a 2x4 of some sort, you can use that. If you don't, that's totally fine. We're just going to start off by standing nice and tall. If you don't have a beam, you line your feet up, even with the floorboard, and just line your feet up as though you're standing on a beam. And so what we'll do is we're just going to stand tall, one foot in front of the other. You're actually going to be standing on your back foot here. So you're standing on your back foot, staying tall. Your front foot is just kind of there. You've got 90% of your weight on your back foot. Just staying as tall as you can. Sometimes just standing is harder than you would think. Keeping your feet in that line. All right, keep your feet oriented the same way, and now you're just going to shift your weight onto the front leg. So your back heel can come up off the ground. Basically, you're standing on one foot with the ball of your back foot just touching the ground. What we're doing here is taking like a super slow motion step. All right, so let's take a step. We transfer that back foot into the front. We're still standing on your back foot. So all your weight is back on your back foot. Your front foot's just out in front of you, lightly pressed or lightly touching the beam or the floor. And then we'll shift forward, taking your weight onto that front leg. If you're not standing on a beam, try to keep it's almost going to be heel to toe. And your feet are going to be right in line with each other. And let's take one more step, standing on your back foot. Make sure we're staying tall. And good. Okay, so we're kind of warming up your feet, warming up your balance, getting a good feel for where your balance point is. So here we're just going to, if you have a beam at home, use that. If you don't, you can just pick a floorboard or just walk heel to toe. So we're just going to basically walk on the beam, or pretend to walk on the beam. In whatever space you have, let's just go heel to toe. Staying nice and tall. Walking nice and slowly. So now we're speeding that step up a little bit. All right, now we'll start to add a turn in here. So what we're going to do is we're going to you'll take your step, your last step, you're going to kind of make the letter T with your feet. So if you're stepping forward with your right foot will turn in. Okay, so that the toes of your left foot meet your right arch. And then from there you open and turn your left foot to point back the other direction. And then we walk from there. So it's kind of like you turn 90 degrees with one foot, and you're turning around with your other foot. We head back down the beam. Dory, I know you're working with just probably on the carpet there. So just do your best with pretending there's a beam there.
Yeah, I will. I keep muting myself just so the dog doesn't bark.
Okay. All right, last bit of balance stuff here. Actually, the last turn, we'll do one more balance thing, but a different kind of turn now. So when you get to the end, right, you're just gonna put the weight on the balls of your feet and we'll pivot at the same time and end up facing the other direction. This one, you know, if you're wearing shoes and if you're on carpet, your feet might get kind of, you know, the carpet will twist up under your feet, but we want to come up, making sure that you should turn facing the same thing. So I'm always going to turn with my chest facing the computer here. So take your steps so that it works out that way. So we're just coming up onto the balls of your feet, rotate. The slower you go, the harder it is, just because you have to balance the whole way. Whereas if you hustle and get there, you don't have to use as much balance. Stay nice and tall. Make sure we're looking forward, not down at the floor or down at your feet. Okay, last thing we're going to do on the beam or the fake beam, we're just going to take a lunge step forward. So now we take a big step on the beam. All right, we're down to tap a knee on the beam, and we come back up. So, you know, if you're working with some limited space, you might only get 1 or 2 lunges before you got to turn around. Let's see if we can alternate feet. So this is basically just a forward lunge that we're going to walk along with, but that lunge is going to be in line. So now we're lunging, but we're also using balance. Okay, good. So let's go, we're done with the beam. So we kind of like to use that in the beginning just to get everything dialed in. So let's go ahead and, all right, so we're gonna go to all fours. So we'll go to all fours and we're gonna start to warm up hips or get hips stretched out because we are gonna be doing some like deeper squats. So what we're gonna do is just some hip rocking here. All right, so you're on all fours. Start with knees about shoulder width apart. And so we're just gonna sit back. Your hips are gonna sit back towards your heels. And so as you push back towards your heels, you want to try to keep your tailbone up. And so don't let yourself like round over and slump into that. So after we go a few times there, then you're going to put your knees a little bit farther apart. And push back again. So usually the wider your knees go, the more stretch you feel in your hips. So when your knees go wider, your shins should stay parallel to each other. So we don't want wide knees and narrow feet, or your feet close together. So try to keep your feet out as wide as your knees go. And good. From there, bring your knees in a little bit so that you can sit your butt back towards your heels. All right, so you're gonna sit all the way back on your heels. And then we're gonna take your hands and walk over to one side. Try to keep your chest facing the floor. So your butt's gonna stay on your heels. We're just reaching your arms over. You should get a stretch all the way down your lat or down the outside of your ribs here. Just trying to keep your, kind of keep your belly on your thighs. You're taking nice deep breaths. Every time you take a breath in, you should feel that stretch increase because your ribs are expanding and stretching. And let's walk your hands over to the other side. Again, we're keeping your arms straight. Chest is going to stay facing the floor. Your butt's going to stay close to your heels. And good. Let's come up to one knee. So we're just going to push forward for hip flexor stretch. Let me push out to 45 degrees. So kind of a groin and hip flexor stretch. So we'll just cycle between the two of those. All right, let's switch sides. So we're going to get into circuit here. Circuit will take about 9 minutes. We're going to do 3 different exercises. We'll do 1 minute each. And again, the goal of today is not to be like a normal circuit where it's like, you know, get as many reps as possible or use as heavy a weight as possible. Today is really mobility based. So it is more of a mobility circuit. So today your heart rate will come up a little bit. You may get a little bit of a sweat going, but really we want this to be about feeling your way through the movement, making sure that you know, you're feeling the movement in the right way and that we're getting the most mobility that we can out of the movements. So 3 movements. First, a deep squat or a full squat here. Now, a couple ways we can do this. You can go to a chair or, you know, if you have like something that's in between chair height and all the way down, you know, you might be like, let's say you're working to a chair, pushing your hips back, just tapping to the chair and coming back up, right? So if that's what mobility allows for, you can use that. You could go to, I'm trying to think of something that would be lower than that. Maybe if you have a low chair or if you have a box of some sort, we can go down and touch to the box. Otherwise, you know, we're kind of looking to get all the way down into that squat position. If you have trouble getting into a squat position, you can elevate your heels on something, right? So once you elevate your heels, it takes out ankle mobility, which is, you know, the biggest thing that limits me. So by elevating my heels, I can really comfortably sit in this squat position. So that's one way you can make it possible for you to get lower into that squat position. So what we're going to be doing for 1 minute is just feeling your way in and out of that squat, right? So from the low part of your squat, we'll just stand up and we're working our way back down in, settle into the squat, feel it a little bit. I'll push my knees apart just for a little bit of an extra stretch, and we stand. So we're just going to be kind of going up and down for a minute. Again, it's not for to see how many reps we can get. It's more about seeing how we can get into that squat, see if we can get comfortably into that squat, and maybe getting progressively lower each time. Okay, so we'll do that for a minute. The second minute, we will do a suitcase deadlift. So suitcase deadlift is just picking something up from one side. And the biggest difference between a squat and a deadlift is squat, you at the bottom, your chest is going to be facing forward. So there's lots of knee bend in a squat. In a deadlift, you're using mostly hips. So here your legs will be not locked, but only slightly bent. And so we get strong through here, really strong through your midsection, through your core, and we stand up and then take that weight back down to the floor. So it's some knee bend, but lots of hip bend. That's the difference between a squat and a deadlift. By having the weight off to one side, really forces your core to be strong as you pick the weight up. So we will need a little bit of a weight tap to something that is the right level for you, or it doesn't have to tap to the ground. It can just be kind of here and almost, do an RDL, or, take your hand down to about knee level. I'll call out halfway on that, so we'll know when to switch hands. And then the final one is a shoulder crawl. So this is actually great for shoulder, opening up your upper back, kind of getting the muscles that usually kind of sleepy and allow you to slump or hunch. Now we're going to be using all those muscles, and it kind of loosens up your upper back and allows you to get into a better posture. So what that looks like, it might be stationary for you, or it might be something where you're moving along. So the shoulder crawl, you're going to think of your shoulder blades like feet. So when one foot's on the ground, when one shoulder blade is on the ground, you're going to reach up with the other one, place it on the floor, and then as that one's pulling down, you'll reach up with the other side, right? So think of your shoulder blades as feet, and you're going to walk along. If you're not moving with that one, we're going to go, you'll keep your hips up off the floor. Right now I'm going to push my left leg into the floor and my right shoulder blade down into the floor. So I'm actually lifting myself up off the floor and then alternate. And so if you're having trouble kind of getting started with this one, it's just like a crawl, but it's facing the ceiling, right? So opposites are going to be on the floor. Left shoulder, right leg, right shoulder, left leg. So if you're having trouble getting started, just kind of start there. And then from there, you can start to walk with those shoulder blades, okay? So that's the circuit. We're gonna do 1 minute each, 3 rounds of those 3 exercises. So we've got the squat, the deadlift, and the shoulder crawl, okay? Any questions from everyone out there? Everyone? Okay, good to go. All right, so we're gonna get our time started now. So we'll start off with the squats. Remember, elevating your heels as needed. And off we go. Remember, it's more about getting the mobility. Sometimes even as you go along here, you might notice that, I'm going to elevate my heels a little bit to get started. But as we work into the end of this, maybe I'll be able to have my heels on the floor just because I've warmed up the pattern and kind of increased or improved my mobility within the session. Okay, 30 seconds in. We've got 30 seconds to go. Remember, you might only get 5 squats out of this, but we really want to feel your way through the movement. Make sure there's no one joint taking on most of the work. 10 seconds left. Keeping knees spread as you go down. And that's the 1 minute mark. Let's go suitcase deadlift. So we need 1 weight just off to your side. When you set the weight down, it should go down right next to your ankle. If you're not setting the weight down, your hand should be tracking right down the outside of your leg. Five seconds left on this side. And switch sides. Ten seconds left. And good. Shoulder crawl. Again, if we're just getting started, you can just start, you can keep your both feet on the ground, but just start to maybe rock shoulder blade to shoulder blade. And then as you get the feeling for shifting that weight from shoulder blade to shoulder blade, you're going to push your heel down into the floor, opposite heel. 30 seconds in. All right, so then once you get that, then we start to roll and really shrug that shoulder blade up and reach. And then you're pulling the ground back down toward your heels and moving your way forward. You can also do it the opposite way. So if you run out of room, 5 seconds left, you can come back the way you came from. And good, so that's our 3 minutes. Work our way up into the squat again. So as you're doing your squats, you're making sure that you're going down symmetrically. So we should be dropping straight down through the middle of that squat. Don't let one side do most of the work. You can hang out at the bottom, or you can, whatever you're touching your butt to, hang out there for a second. Get a good stretch and come up. 20 seconds left. Five seconds left. And time. Let's go deadlift. So getting really strong through your core, strong like you just sneezed. We're bringing that weight up. And switch sides. Okay. This is probably good for your back, actually. This is nothing more than just practicing getting strong. So anything you pick up off the floor is a deadlift, really. 3, 2, 1, and working our way into the second round of a shoulder crawl. You keep your head close to the floor here. If you have long hair, you may find that you have to, keep it up or hold it up. But other than that, you can keep your head fairly close to the floor. Halfway there. Remember using those shoulder blades like feet. Taking steps. The one that's not on the floor is going to be reaching. Ten seconds left. 3, 2, 1, and the last round of squats. If you don't have anything to elevate your heels and you want to sit a little bit lower, a lot of times if you hold a small amount of weight, like 5 or 10 pounds in front of you, it can really help you counterbalance. It'll help you get into the balls of your feet a little bit more, so you don't feel like you're going to fall over backwards. So sometimes holding a little bit of weight in front will help. Otherwise, elevating your heels will do the trick too. 15 seconds left. 5 seconds. And good. Deadlift. So picking that weight up on one side. Probably have to go narrow stance here. You can also go, put the weight in between your feet and just pick up with one hand. You still get that same kind of force. Remember, always tapping right in between your ankles. Switch hands. "15 seconds left. "5 seconds. And good. Last minute here. Shoulder crawl. Again, if you got to start just by shifting your weight side to side, that's a good place to start. Keeping your hips up off the ground. Then once you get the feel for that weight shift, we start to walk. Make sure you're not shifting your hips too much side to side. So we don't want hips moving around a lot. It's basically just going to be you pushing your shoulder blade down. So you should be able to stay in kind of a straight line with this. 20 seconds left. "10 seconds. And relax. Okay. Well, that's a quick half an hour. Should be enough to get you moving. But again, it's not always about burning calories, and a lot of times it's just about moving really well. So now it should feel like all of your joints are ready to go, and you're free to be active the rest of the day. What plans you got today, Dory?
Gonna walk. I mowed the lawn the other day, so it doesn't need that yet. I don't know. Just hang out.
Do vacation stuff?
Might work on some cards. I don't know. We'll see.
Okay.
And then 5:30 gym.
Yeah. All right.
With me and Brian.
Excellent.
And I told him he can't cancel. He has to come.
Yeah.
He has to come.
That's it. Force him to come to the gym. Yes.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Well, enjoy it. I got to pop in there today and see how things are going. So.
Yeah.
New normal. Yay. All right. Have a great day. I got to run.
You too. Thanks.
Yep. Have a great one. Talk to you soon.
Okay. Bye.